Good morning, I'm Christy McDonald, and thanks so much for joining us. If you're watching online or if you're watching on Detroit Public TV at
Thank
home,
you.
we are certainly glad that you have joined us for day 2 of the Mackinac Policy Conference, where 1,500 business and philanthropy leaders, along with politicians and educators, are all getting together to talk about what's happening here in the state of Michigan, some of the successes that we've had, some of the challenges that we still face, and really kind of mapping out the future for our state. A lot of great conversations are happening here and getting really warmed up for day 2. Obviously, when we talk about the Mackinac Policy Conference, a lot of the main things here up on Mackinac Island, we're talking about the economy of the state. We're talking about businesses and growth of businesses and making sure that there are jobs for people and making sure people are trained for those jobs. And joining me now to talk a little bit about business here in the state of Michigan is Dave Zilko. He's the Vice Chairman of Garden Fresh Gourmet. Dave, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Shirley Stanacto, she's the CEO of New Detroit. Shirley, it's always good to see you as well.
Same here. Good to be
And
here.
Tom Walsh, who's a business columnist for the Detroit Free Press. Tom, as always, it's good to see you.
Good to be here.
All right, I love this panel because it's everyone's from a kind of a very different perspective here, but I want to start and talk in general, and I'm going to start with you, Tom. What is the mood and would you say the business climate in the state of Michigan right now compared to where we've been for the last 5 years?
Well, compared to the last 5 years, we're in way better shape. 5 years ago, we were just coming out of bankruptcy, and for the auto companies. That's before we went into bankruptcy for the city of Detroit, and we were in the final stages of a prior governor, and this sitting governor had a pretty good first term. I think we're at kind of an inflection point right now where people say, okay, we've come up off the bottom. You know, we're no longer last in all of the business attraction kinds of surveys, but and we've now got an unemployment rate that's about the national average. But is that good enough? And how do we take growth a step further and grow jobs, particularly in the city where we're really nowhere near done? And I think there are some questions now about where you find the money after the failure of the roads thing statewide. And they're talking about stripping out money out of the MEDC. So there's a lot of issues out there still.
All right, Dave, let me ask you, as someone who is the head of a very successful business that has grown very much so in the last couple of years in the state of Michigan, how do you find the business climate?
With respect to food, it's actually very interesting. Garden Fresh, as many people may know, we're the largest manufacturer of fresh salsa in the United States. We're the #1 brand of it.
I probably have 3 tubs right now. I'm just going to say that straight off.
So in terms of food, Michigan retailers have always been blessedly provincial in terms of supporting local products. What's interesting right now, though, there's a phenomenon going on where people are gravitating toward local, genuine, authentic food products. It's manifesting itself in a lot of ways. The farm-to-table movement in restaurants. One of my favorite examples is Budweiser beer, the former #1 beer in the United States. They've lost market share for 23 consecutive years, and it's really a result of the craft beer movement taking place. And anybody who's ever had Bell's beer in Kalamazoo, once you have that, you're never going back to Budweiser. So you couple how blessedly provincial retailers have been in this state with people gravitating toward fresh, all-natural, genuine, local food products. I've been doing this for close to 25 years. This is the best environment I've ever seen for food entrepreneurs to really get their products off the ground. It's really fantastic.
And so this has really shifted in the state of Michigan, would you say, in the last how many years or so?
It's certainly the last 3 to 5 years. And again, people like Whole Foods, Walter Robb is here at this conference. They don't allow preservatives in their building. Again, they only allow fresh, all-natural products, and you can just see how their business has grown. They're probably the most dynamic food retailer in the United States right now. So Michigan is beautifully positioned in the center of North America. We ship over $1 million a month to Canada. We're the #1 brand in Canada, too. So Michigan really has a lot going for it right now in terms of food entrepreneurialism and environment, and there's a lot of things we can take advantage of.
Shirley, what would you say in terms of how small businesses are doing? Because you do a lot of work with small businesses in encouraging them in the state of Michigan.
I think that they're doing okay. And let me say this. So the businesses that we focus on are businesses in the neighborhoods in Detroit. So very, very small business, 1 and 2 person shops. And so our role is to strengthen and grow those businesses. And so we believe, Christy, that when you do that, you also strengthen the neighborhoods and stabilize the neighborhoods, and also help individuals find jobs, because small businesses are the ones that do most of the hiring. So you have 1 and 2 person businesses, and they're going to hire folks, et cetera. But we're looking at, really, from our perspective, just a growth in the number of individuals who want to become entrepreneurs, those that have been in business. Our focus is those that have been in business 5 years or less, and then have $1 million or less in annual revenue. So the very, very, very small business in the neighborhoods. And I tell you, we can't do enough to help them strengthen and grow in terms of the work that we do. So we actually have workshops for individuals, and we provide information like how to do a business plan and understanding financial statements and how to focus on marketing and all those kinds of things. And that is what we believe is our piece of the puzzle to help to stabilize neighborhoods and also to grow small businesses and help folks find jobs.
Do you find that a lot more people are taking advantage of those resources? Because it seems to be there's this theme of you can do it in Detroit, that now is the time that if you want to be a small business owner, if you want to open up, that there is opportunity to be able to do that in the city.
Absolutely. And it's really being lifted up more and more by individuals. I mean, Tom does in his columns in the Free Press, and you hear more and more about it. So folks are wanting to know where can I go to find it? And part of what we do is to help to guide them to that path. So we have a piece of the work that we do, but then we also said there are all these other opportunities. Invest Detroit is an example. The Small Business Association. Lots of what we call alternative lenders, banks do it. But for these very, very small businesses, helping to point them in the right direction for loans that they perhaps are not eligible for from a large bank, that's part of the work that we do, and people are just, I don't think they can get enough of the information, so we're excited about that.
But you say small business, or one or two people, but it seems like almost every business starts off as a small business.
Absolutely.
And you know that, Dave, better than
Absolutely.
anybody else does.
Yeah.
It would, Jack and Annette doing salsa in a kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, they literally started, Jack and Annette and Found Garden first started in the back of a frankly bankrupt restaurant at 8.5 Mile on Woodward. And you fast forward to today, and Garden Fresh is the largest employer in Ferndale with 457 employees. And what's interesting about the Michigan entrepreneurial environment right now, specifically with respect to food, there are commercial kitchens being set up in Eastern Market. For Garden Harvest to set up a commercial kitchen so that the Jack Aaronsons of today don't have to start in the back of a bankrupt, unlicensed restaurant. They've literally got beautiful commercial kitchens that we could have only dreamed of in starting in which to launch their food products. And again, coupling what I said before about how market forces are really moving in the direction of fresh, all natural, which really supports the local food entrepreneurial environment. It's a great time, the best I've seen in a quarter century, really.
And you're seeing a lot of these stories, Tom, but are you still hearing that the people need capital, that trying to shake loose the money to be able to get a lot of these startups going? Is that maybe still some of the problem?
Well, I think there's a capital challenge there. You can get started, but then how do we grow big companies? We've grown, I think, out of Dan Gilbert's enterprises downtown, they've grown some companies from 5 people to 10, 20, 50 people, but we haven't grown the big giant company. A lot of people think that Groupon, which is based out of Chicago, should have been a Detroit company because it was started by a couple of U of M guys who went to Chicago. Now this is before Detroit started reviving. But what's going to be the next big company in Detroit? And I think that's where some of the concern around early stage to middle stage venture capital is, and whether we're still a kind of a flyover state for people who have to go to Silicon Valley or Boston for the money. But and the state of Michigan did some good work here, but there's some concern that they're starting to gut those funds out of the state of Michigan to try to backfill on the roads.
Oh, we'll see. I have the last word on this.
I want to say that part of the work that we do is to make small businesses ready to prepare themselves to be able to get a loan. So access to capital is an issue, and that's what all businesses say. And what we say is let's prepare you for that. So business preparedness, readiness as we call it, is part of the work that we do, and that's the first step in growing small businesses.
And a crucial one. Shirley
Absolutely.
Stancato, Tom Walsh, Dave Zilko, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.